And welcome. This is Fosong Elizabeth Cookye. I am here at Urban Fashion Store Extraordinaire, Breezy Excursion. Right now, I am sitting here, finally, with an appointment with Joe Flores of the fighting game community. He is a humanitarian that does a lot of fighting game events here. He has come a long way within the FGC, not only hosting various events, but also tournaments.
Hi everyone, my name is Joe Capsule Flores. I am the owner and CEO of Capsule Entertainment. I've been in the fighting game community for a very long time, ever since Street Fighter 1 was out in the arcades, and that was probably around 1987, 1988. At that time I was like 8 years old or something like that. Started playing Street Fighter back in Street Fighter 1, and then when Street Fighter 2 came out, I started playing competitively in the arcades with other pro players, mainly at Milpitas Golfland and other various arcades in the South Bay here in Northern California. Been in the fighting game community running tournaments for a long time at various arcades, San Jose State, Sunnyvale Golfland, Milpitas Golfland, as well as competing. And around 2012 is when I founded Capsule Entertainment. And that's kind of when we made the switch over from arcade to console, and we've been pretty much just going from there, and we've built up. It's kind of been like a snowball effect, building all this equipment for the community and getting places for them to play, and it's been a really good experience. I'm glad to have everyone with us.
So tell us more about Golfland. Was Golfland the premier arcade here in the Bay Area?
There was actually a few. A very popular one was Sunnyvale Golfland. That's mainly because they had a lot of the games on beta test there, and it was actually a really good melting pot and like a big central point for the whole Bay Area, as it was in Sunnyvale. So a lot of people from the peninsula would come, and a lot of people from the Monterey Bay would come. It was kind of like a central point. Other good arcades were, of course, Milpitas Golfland, and there was also Keystone back in the day. That was a really big San Jose arcade. Berkeley had really good arcades, and San Jose State, like I said, San Francisco State.
So the reason why I asked this question is, for those of you who know me, I'm from New York City, but I moved here to the Bay Area, and some of the most prolific fighting game veterans that we know of from where I'm from in New York is Justin Wong, Chris G. We all made that move from New York to here to California. Some of us to LA, and then eventually moving up to the Bay Area here. And our arcade on the East Coast was known as Chinatown Fair Arcade. And there, Justin Wong ended up being with Triforce Johnson and Empire Arcadia until he broke off from them and came here. You know, Chris G ended up finding his fame, you know, on his own, and then moving here to the Bay Area as well. Now, bringing it back to the video game side of things, we've been playing Third Strike for a while. We've been playing Street Fighter 2 and all of the Street Fighter games, as well as various other fighting games within the martial arts gaming universe. Which is your favorite Street Fighter game?
My favorite Street Fighter game is most definitely Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Definitely.
Please explain to us why.
I love the whole parry system in Street Fighter 3, the whole Street Fighter 3 series in general. And since New Generation and Second Impact, they really cleaned up the fighting engine and the battle systems in Third Strike. So that really intrigued me to know that everything felt better in Third Strike. And they introduced something that I thought was really a huge problem in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, which is the red parry. New Generation and Second Impact, which is the red parry in Third Strike. And that really got me interested because you could no longer chip someone to death. We call that cheap back in the day. So there was a lot of really good mechanics in Third Strike that are standard in a lot of games now. And back then, I just thought that was just an amazing game.
So a little bit of history for you guys out there that doesn't understand the Street Fighter 3 series. So for those who was introduced in Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, Street Fighter 2 was released a myriad of games in succession back to back. You had Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, then you had Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, which is known as Rainbow Edition in Japan. Then afterwards you had Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, and then it jumped to Super Street Fighter 2 and then Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And one of the biggest complaints amongst the FGC was chip damage and frame trapping, which would push your character into block stun, which would then allow the other opponent to follow up with a throw or various moves that would not allow you to get from neutral block. So a remedy to that was making the Street Fighter 3 series. The fighting mechanic was implementing the parry system, which would allow people to defend against chip damage and defend against frame trapping so that you can parry, just like real life martial arts, and get yourself out of a situation. So, should you have played the game long enough, then that's when the real beauty of parrying would take place, because you can actually anticipate the attack before it actually happens. The red parrying that Joe right here is talking about was the final system polished in the last iteration of Street Fighter 3. So you had New Generation, Second Impact, and then Third Strike. Unfortunately, New Generation and Second Impact was only released for Dreamcast, and we're still waiting for one day another a re-release of those games again, and a trifecta collection of all three. We have played this game many times before. We are some ways evenly matched, in some ways not. He plays a bigger roster than me, and they know that I only play female characters. Moving on to Street Fighter V, what is your likes and dislikes about this game?
I like Street Fighter V because it's more focused on footsies. I feel like there wasn't really that much emphasis in that in Street Fighter 4. There was a lot of gimmicky stuff in there. So that's what I actually like about Street Fighter 5 is it kind of brings it back to the whole foot games and kind of like how Street Fighter 2 was played and a lot of the old Street Fighter games. What I don't like about Street Fighter 5 is kind of on the same side of the coin a little bit, and that it's kind of slow feeling to me. I feel like it's a very defensive game in a lot of ways, and depending if you're attacking or not. So that's kind of what I don't like about Street Fighter V is that when I'm getting attacked or when I feel like pressured, I feel like I really can't do anything, and I just got to sit there and wait and just kind of wait my turn. And that's kind of boring to me. I kind of like other options for me to get out of those kind of situations, and that's basically what I don't like.
If there are any mechanics that you could change about Street Fighter V, from gameplay to the introduction of new characters, to music, to stage themes, to new stages, what give us an idea of what would you add and what would you subtract?
I would definitely add a parry to the game, just because I just think that's such a good mechanic, and a lot of people don't feel like it is. But after playing Street Fighter for so long, I feel like it is a good mechanic, and it just needs to come back in order for things just to be better in general. They've actually done a lot of good things with Street Fighter V that I was hoping they'd do, which is bring back a lot of popular characters, a lot of stages that I would like to see. I didn't really expect Guile stage to come back, but seeing that it did actually brought a lot of joy to my heart, because it brought a lot of nostalgic back for me, and that's the kind of things I like. A lot of the music from the older games I would like to see come back to. A lot of characters in general that didn't make it in any other fighting games, in Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 3 that were in past fighting, maybe Street Fighter EX or Street Fighter 1, or maybe even characters that were in Street Fighter Alpha. I would like to see some of those kind of characters come back. That would kind of breathe some new life into the Street Fighter 5 series.
I do totally agree with you. I always thought that maybe in the beginning iterations of Street Fighter V announcement, I was just so sure they was going to have the parry mechanic back into the game. I said, because this is the beginning on how all of that came to be, since it's going to close the gap between Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3. For all of you out there who doesn't know, the Street Fighter storyline starts as this, and I'm going from the Japanese point of view. Please do check Japanese drama CDs out there, searching for them. But it's in this timeline. It's Street Fighter 0, then 1, then 2, then 4, then 5, then 3. So Street Fighter 0 is Alpha in America. So from the American term, it's Street Fighter Alpha series, then 1, then 2 World Warrior series, 4, 5, and then 3. And 3 gets a lot of the long-lost questions answered in 5 when you play the story mode. So if you're not too sure of what's going on, play the story mode in Street Fighter V. Play it carefully and look for the consistencies between what they're connecting between 5 in 3, because then you'll understand why things take place the way they do in 3. Okay, so I want to wrap this up with a couple more questions. I noticed that outside of Street Fighter, you're starting to play King of Fighters. How was your experience getting introduced for the first time, really, with the King of Fighters series? But it seems like you're starting off with the current iteration of King of Fighters 14. How is that for you?
I never expected to like King of Fighters, honestly. I never played King of Fighters competitively in the past in the arcade or in general at all. I always preferred the battle system and mechanics of Street Fighter games. So when 14 came out, I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot, because I give all King of Fighter games a shot, but I usually don't end up playing them. And being how I don't like Street Fighter 5 that much, and I don't really play competitively Street Fighter 5, I thought I'd just give King of Fighters 14 more of a shot. And as I started to dive deeper into the game, I realized this is the game that I've been waiting for a long, long time. Coming from like Street Fighter 4 and every other game after that, post 2009, I was kind of like in an identity crisis in the fighting games, I guess field. But like, I really love the game. It just feels really good. It feels like a lot of old school Capcom fighting games. It feels a lot like Street Fighter Alpha, like Street Fighter 2. Feels a lot like Street Fighter EX, Third Strike, CVS 2, and those are all games that I really love. So it just came real natural to me that King of Fighters was a game that I was gonna like, because everything just felt perfect. And being that a lot of the or some of the employees that were working for Capcom are now working for SNK and were part of the team over there developing King of Fighters 14, made a huge difference. And when I found that out, when I found out like they were over there developing King of Fighters 14, it all made sense to me, like pieces of the puzzle, why the game felt so good. So yeah, I'm loving King of Fighters 14 right now.
And for you guys out there that play King of Fighters, y'all know this is not the first time that Capcom has had an interaction with SNK. They've been in cahoots with various games for a while, with Capcom versus SNK, Capcom versus SNK Pro, Capcom versus SNK 2, and also SNK versus Capcom Chaos. And then they've also come together several times with the Neo Geo Pocket Color versions of Capcom versus SNK Match of Millennium 2000. As we close out here, I want to ask you, what are your goals for the future as a tournament organizer? Where do you see yourself in the future, and what is your projected goal? What would you like to do?
As a tournament organizer, I'm just trying to find new ways for the community to keep playing and be interested, as well as finding ways to introduce the games to new people that aren't really into fighting games yet, or don't think they like fighting games. So I kind of have like a big responsibility as a TO. It's kind of like there's a lot of people that drop out of the community and go on and move on. So as a TO, you got to kind of introduce new players to the scene, a new generation of competitors. So that's my focus, is finding ways to hold tournaments or events that interest new people to come into the community and to keep our community big and thriving. As for what I want to do for the future, I've always wanted to open up my own lounge eventually, or my own arcade. Being that arcades aren't successful these days as much as they were back in the 90s, probably isn't ideal. But I kind of want to open up my own game lounge in the future, and that's something that I've been investing towards recently, maybe in the past, maybe 3 to 4 years. So who knows, maybe in the future, you'll see Capsule Cade or something like that open up, and we'll have something like that for the community.
So where can we find you? Where can we find Capsule Corp? What's the easiest? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have an email? How do people subscribe to your channel? How do we find you?
I have various social media. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at CPS_IV. And I also have a Facebook business page and group. It's an open group. And you can find those at just typing in Capsule Entertainment on Facebook. You'll definitely find that. And then on YouTube, we have a channel. If you search the same thing as my handle on Twitter, CPS_IV, or CPS, and you spell out the word for, CPS FOUR, you'll find my channel on there too as well.
I just want to say thank you for tuning in. We're here at Breezy Excursion on 1020 the Alameda here in San Jose at Urban Clothing Store Extraordinaire, Breezy Excursion. This is Fosung Elizabeth Cookye, finally with an appointment, signing out.